something like this, I don't want her involved in this. Okay.
It made contact and shattered.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Callie take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was
reference to a missing 4-year-old, the parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Hello?
It's gone.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here for another ATS live stream. We are discussing the Dylan Rounds case, a missing 20-year-old who has been missing since the end of May. So we have a recent interview from the mother, Candice, on the Duty Ron's channel. If anyone has seen it, we're going to just break it down and just kind of iron out the facts, just spit them out there. I watched it a few times. Sometimes it's a little hard to follow Candice. She's a little all over the place, which is understandable. But I just think that I've found a way to just weave through all that and just give you guys the real facts that need to be repeated. I know a lot of people have already, seen it and just have taken in everything she said. But I think it's important to stick with the facts. And then obviously we will get into speculating and talking about people who have been boots on the ground there. Really interesting content coming out of a lot of people who are just out there searching and who are just vlogging. We'll also talk about Chase's father's phone call with Jim Terry. I took a few notes on that, and I'm still in the process of finishing that up. So I was actually listening before I went live. So that was really interesting. So we'll get into that. And then, so we'll just go in through all that. I got a mainstream media clip to kind of play for you guys that there is in reference to his birthday that was this week. So I'm just going to get right into it with you guys. And hello, everybody in chat, and to my mods. Hi, Delana and Twisted Gemini. So good to see you. So yes, let me just play this.
Dylan Rounds was last heard from on May 28th, 2022. He has brown eyes, brown hair, and he is 20 years old. Dylan is
around 5'11", and he weighs roughly 160 pounds. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Dylan Rounds, you are urged to call 435-734-3800.
A direct quote from Candice starts off with, "We're taking it day by day right now because it's all we can do really until we get some solid answers." She also goes on to clarify that Dylan was the one that made the phone call to his grandmother. Candice also agrees that James Brenner is the main suspect. Candice says that Chase was never listed as a suspect by law enforcement. She tried to clear up rumors that are being spread online, specifically of the woman who was in the courtroom at the time Chase was there. She goes on to say, when he was asked in court something about being a suspect, that wasn't even about Dylan. It's hard to say someone is cleared if they were never a suspect to begin with. They've never said those words to Justin or I either. As far as law enforcement is concerned, he was never listed as one, so to say he was cleared, it can't be cleared if he wasn't a suspect, Candice says. She goes on to explain that Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and FBI have never even talked to them about Chase. Chase had his cell phone with him when he asked Dylan for a ride, but he needed to charge it. She said 3 other credible eyewitnesses saw Chase get into Dylan's truck that day. Duty Ron asked Candice to talk about Kurt Wadsworth as much as she can without obviously giving up anything important. Candice goes on to explain the Kurt in the psychic tip scenario. She said that Kurt first stated that he got the tip from in town. He spent the day that Tuesday helping them drain the pond, and then later that night was when he had called in the tip 20 minutes after the $20,000 reward was posted. Kurt first told Candice another person told him this information. Then he changed it to the tip came from a psychic. Kurt's own daughter doubled down on the psychic theory and stated that it was her mother, who also reads tarot cards. Dylan.
Guys, I just need to pause it there for a second. First off, hello, Roxanne and Lady Sarah. So glad you made it to a live stream. Hi, EE Caroline. So I just want to know your guys' opinion about Candice coming out saying that the psychic tip started out as just a tip coming from Kurt, saying that he had heard it from somebody in town. So what do you guys think about it kind of switching up to being a psychic? Do we think that there even is a psychic? Press 1 if you think there's a psychic. Press 2 if there's no psychic. But if there is no psychic, then what is the deal with, coming up with that to kind of say that that's where he got that tip from? I don't understand it. I'm just very confused by it. I don't know. I haven't marked Kurt off my list, but at the same time, I don't know what level of whatever he's involved in. The other thing that I just wanted to kind of mention too, which I think I mentioned it in this video, is why there's a point where Duty Ron asks Candice, did Dylan ever express being in fear or fear for other people out there or stuff like that while he was living out there? And she said no. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, but he called his mother on Wednesday to tell her about that guy that came out of the desert, which we know now is Chase. So I'm just kind of confused why she said no about Dylan never feeling like he should be in fear or whatever. And I know that maybe he wasn't in fear about the Chase thing, but at the same time, I do find it noteworthy that he called his mother, of all people, while she was at work to tell her about the run-in with the guy with one shoe on, bloody, coming out of the desert. It's just, I don't know. I'm all over the place with the interview. I'm glad we got some answers clarified, but at the same time, I have a list of things that I'm just kind of huge question about. Hi, Karen. Hello, Rebecca and Joseph. Thanks for being here. And thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. And just so you guys know, I see that the members are green again in my chat. I got my monetization back. Everything got squared away. I do still link my PayPal because I just think that subs and members need to be aware that, when you send a super chat, when you do anything through YouTube, they take 30%. So I just think it's fair to leave it there just so everyone knows when you're donating and all that. Hi, Roxanne. So Ronnie from Missing Person said, Kurt is money hungry. I can totally see him making up the medium for money. Yeah, when they said that it came out 20 minutes after the first reward was posted, and remember, that was only $20K, he jumped all over it. But if you don't have anything substantial to bring forward, what is the point in trying to scheme and get something from them? You know what I mean? That's where I'm kind of confused. If he was just after the money, obviously there would be a roadblock when that exchange came about, because if he has nothing to present them, it's just a theory. It's just a tip. You're not just going to get the money for that. So it makes me think okay, is there more? And then it evolved into, no, it was from a psychic. I just don't understand. I'm confused by it. But let me carry on. And thanks again, guys, for being here. If you want to hit that like for the video, that'd be appreciated as well.
Dylan owned a tarp to cover the seeds, but the tarp had holes in it. Candice also states that nobody came to the family or came forward claiming that Dylan was boasting about his money or his success out there.
That's another thing that obviously I wrote it down and I want it laid out there that Candice was under the impression that he wasn't out there boasting about, the success of whatever jobs he had lined up or whatever, or boasting about his money. But she wasn't there in the same sense. Like, even though she says nobody came to us with that tip, I think that's important too, because obviously if that was the case, they would have said it to the family. But I'm also thinking, like, how does she know though? Like, then I started thinking, was it other people who were talking about Dylan? Like, was it, just hypothetical? Was it Kurt who was saying, did you hear that he got this check from Iverson, all this money, and he owes me $4,000? Because that's what Kurt said. Dylan owed him $4,000. Is he trying to is Kurt stirring things up? Because Jim Brenner, remember, he worked a job for Dylan that was about delivering potatoes. And apparently they had a set amount that Dylan was going to pay Jim Brenner, but Jim Brenner did a half-assed job apparently. And so Dylan didn't pay him the full amount. So was it something that's something like that related to money? Like, I know Candice was saying that it has nothing to do with the check. I want everyone to squash that. You can't do anything with a check made out to a business. But people who are hearing things through the grapevine or hearing somebody rant about it, maybe at the bar, might not know that the check was already here or there. Like, they might think, okay, so maybe I could get access to it. Like, I'm just saying, we don't know 100%. Was the money for water rights? That never was. Apparently there was nothing to do with water rights. Dylan had water on that property, and the grain shed, I believe, had water hookup. I don't know 100% though, but I think that theory was X'd off, but I could be wrong. Please let me know, guys. So let me see. Last few weeks have been super busy. Oh, I know, Karen. This whole summer is crazy for everyone. I'm so glad you guys make it, though. It's mostly interesting Don H. has evaporated with $20K, and Kurt even says he has no idea where he got money. Don H. is the main witness. He was there, now totally gone. Yeah, it is very quiet along that end of this case. Like, maybe we could get Ty or somebody to swing on over there, like, give us an update on Don.
So she didn't think that he was boasting about the $30,000 check that he had just received. Candice also went on to say that Kurt's ex-wife told her that Kurt was gay. In reference to Don Haley, Candice says that he has been around the family for 3 years, and he has also helped Ed Harshberger in Idaho on a pig farm. Candice states that Dylan did in fact fire Don, despite Kurt claiming that Don left upon his own accord. Another quote from Candice is, "Everything happened right at that property that Brenner was squatting on, and Dylan never left that property." Both of Dylan's campers have been taken into forensics unit to be processed. She says there's lots more that law enforcement knows, and there were additional things found on the property Jim Brenner squatted on, which leads to Brenner being the main suspect. Dylan's grandparents brought the extra key fob with them when they came to Dylan's farm. It was in Idaho. Dylan's shotgun was also found in Idaho. The pistol, which is registered to Justin Rounds, Dylan's father, and his personal key fob for his truck were not found. His cell phone also was not found. The hat that Jim Brenner was wearing, that has been alleged to have been Dylan's hat, is now being forensically tested for DNA to verify if it in fact was Dylan's hat. Candice said that they are in frequent communication with FBI, and that FBI is believed to be the lead in the investigation. They are simply waiting on forensic analysis to solidify evidence and proof. Candice said that she doesn't know Tom Hardy, but thinks Dan Iverson is a good guy. Ed Harshberger moved to Arizona 2 years ago, but Dylan did in fact work with him prior. The rifle Jim asked Don to hold on to, in addition to the muzzle loaders, was Ed Harshberger's .22 rifle that he accidentally left in the trailer that Jim lives in now while he squats on the grain shed property. Candice said, I had never even heard Chase's name until I found out who was in the desert. Candice admits to knowing Jim was a drinker and socially odd, but no one knew of his violent history. June 18th was the date that the FBI took the two campers. Ed Harshberger reached out to Candice when all this happened. The dirt pile near where the boots were found was searched thoroughly. The fuel tank was drained. FBI did other digs of what appeared to be disturbed stuff, but to her knowledge, it didn't lead to anything. Law enforcement has collected stuff, but it has been contaminated, so that's why they're asking the public not to search. FBI is likely using ground-penetrating sonar and radar. Dylan never expressed fear or anything to anyone or to Candice while he was out there. Dylan had access to this grain shed property before. Candice said once she gets the okay from the one FBI agent that she is in contact with, she will share any updates she can.
Okay, guys, so sort of a few things I just want to lay out there that I'm questioning, but I also want to take away the basics. So the pistol, key fob, wallet, and phone are still missing. Where do you guys stand with Chase? Because if we're to believe things that have been going around, like, are we just supposed to X him out? It was just kind of, are we supposed to say it was just happenstance or coincidence that, he runs into Dylan the week that he goes missing? So he gets this check. He runs into Chase in the desert. Was that just unrelated? He calls his mother to tell her about it. It's just very, I don't know if I can let go of Chase. But at the same time, sometimes it is just the basic, this is what it is. Jim was a drinker. He had a temper. He had a gun. That's what it is. Case closed. Had nothing to do with this, had nothing to do with that person. Why? I just don't understand. And yeah, I agree. It definitely seems sketchy, but guys, are we supposed to mark, hi Doug, good to see you. Are we supposed to mark Chase completely off? Like, with everything we've been told about it through the media and through a YouTuber who was in the courtroom, Candice even said he was never listed as a suspect. Okay, that's great. But at the same time, remember in her East Idaho interview, I believe it was in her last one, she said, hopefully one of these two talks. So which one of, like, who is she referring to? Hopefully one of these two talks, or, is it Robert Aviles? I don't understand. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm so glad you're here. But I really need some help understanding if we're supposed to just X Chase off the list completely. We're hearing through firsthand, boots on the ground, that, he has dead dogs buried on his homestead. Not even really fully buried. It's just, I'm confused. That's the other thing that's sort of strange. Chase is on this like meth-induced psychosis from what it sounds like. And he's shooting dogs and all this stuff takes place. It's just, I don't know. Who is marking Chase off their list? Like, if anyone's marking him off your list, please press 1. And don't be afraid to let me know, because I just want to know, like, where are we supposed to go with this? If you're not marking him off your list and you want to keep Chase around, press 2. And I'm not trying to just perpetuate strange theories. I'm just saying all these things taking place with this individual is just very strange. And the jockey, we never got to hear Duty Ron or anybody ask Candice about the jockey. Chase's dad marks him off. Yeah. He said pretty much he didn't think Chase had anything to do with it from what I listened to of it. His dad seemed clueless too. Like when Jim had said something like, Chase's dad said, he's been roaming the desert or something like that. And Jim was like, but why? And he's like, I don't know. And it's like, buddy, your son has a problem. Like, that's why he's out in La La Land and he's not with it. But does that make him tied to Dylan's disappearance? I'm still on the fence. I just don't know. Yeah, it seems like people are still feeling like Chase needs to just kind of remain on the list. To me, none of the cleared or not cleared statements mean anything. Law enforcement often misleads during the investigation. To me, there's no such thing as off the list before an arrest trial. I agree. That is like the approach I feel like I need to take. People might get shuffled around like mentally in my list, but I agree. It's kind of like, and it seemed to me in that interview, Candice was basically saying they have to get things back from processing and from the lab, and then they're going to put together something. So that's sort of like the discovery. Like the prosecution is going to put together like whatever the story is that they're going to try and like bring to a trial if it gets to the point of trial. I've heard literally the jockey mentioned in this story, but I have no clue who he or she is. We thought we heard Candice in one of her interviews mention somebody who was super short. And then we never heard anything about it again from her. And then Kurt has mentioned a jockey, and then some other local called in mentioning a jockey. And he apparently hangs out with the tweakers. We've been following this jockey throughout past live streams, like every little bit that we get to hear about him, but we never got to hear anything on Duty Ron about clarifying the jockey. So I was just kind of sad about that. So the other thing is too, I'd love to know his phone records. Does Dylan always call his grandmother? Was that something that was a clue to people, like to tip them off that something was occurring? You know, what was that conversation like? We've heard that he had to get off the phone in a hurry and he blamed it on the seeds needing to be covered. Was that just something he was saying? Was it something more? Was it nothing? You know what I mean? Like we're digging and digging, and it could very well be, no, he showed up at the grain shed and Jim was teed off and drunk and there was a dispute and he shot him. You know what I mean? It could very well be something like that. Just simple. That's what it is, cut and dry. But the dogs, you know, that's the thing. That I'm kind of like, okay, even if we think about the theory of, oh, he's buried, they use Kurt's backhoe, but the dogs, wouldn't there have been some sort of scent on like the backhoe, you know? All right. Yeah, exactly. Who calls someone to say I can't talk though? That's what I've been wondering since this whole thing was coming out, that he was the one that made the call. I'm like, the other thing we didn't ever get to hear about is, does Dylan have two phones? That was never really clarified either. So the other thing that Chase's father was saying is they record the calls, so he hasn't gotten like in deep conversation about certain things. And I thought that was interesting because if he truly believes his son has nothing to do with the Dylan Rounds thing, then what would it matter if they kind of talk about certain topics? And I mean, I guess it could be used against you, but I found that interesting. The father also said FBI came to Chase's father's house. Okay, so it came to his house with a search warrant. He didn't seem to know anything about Chase shooting dogs. Like he's just kind of, I don't think he knows 100% of what's going on in his son's life, which how can you do that? Like your son's an adult. What are you going to do? Like keep tabs on him? Yeah, he just said Chase didn't have nothing to do with it. like in reference to Dylan. So it's just very interesting call for sure. A lot of questions about Chase and why Dylan called his mother while she's working. You know, like when we were growing up, if we were going to call our mom while she's at work, you know, it better be a good reason. And yes, I've worked with mothers who, you know, when I was bartending or serving, they'd run in the back, you know, my kid's calling me. And it was always like, yeah, no problem, go take it. I'll watch your tables, because it was never something that you just do all the time. You know what I mean? It's just always, you call mom at work when it's an emergency or if something really needs to be relayed. Do you guys feel the same way? And I don't know, people have questioned how close they were. So the fact he called his mother, it's just kind of like, and then he gives her half the truth. You know, he didn't tell her that he gave him a ride. So yeah, that's true. Parents are always last to know. Yeah. Let me see while I look through my notes. And I want to play the media clip that came out this week too. So the last phone ping, people have discussed it being a ping from an app, like a location ping or some sort of ping from an app. So it wasn't a phone call and it wasn't, you know, a text message. So was it Jim Brenner or, you know, whoever shutting his phone off? Like that very well could be it. You know what I mean? It was at what, 2:41. Jim shows up, according to Don, at the barbecue at 3. So whatever was happening. And that's the other thing is too, is Kurt says that Dylan is always on his phone. A lot of people are always on the phone. So if there was no activity from the call to grandma to 2:41, he never picked up his phone in between that to send anybody a text or to pop on Snapchat real quick and see what someone's doing, like while he's, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously I know that he had to get that grain underneath the grain shed or the seeds under the grain shed, but I'm just kind of like feeling something instantly took place, because if he's always on his phone and that was the activity, and if that last ping was somebody turning his phone off, you know, and this is all hypothetical, like we don't know. I'm sure forensics will figure that out, like the metadata. But, you know, it could be just Jim turning off his phone before he shows up at this barbecue at 3, you know, because it was like a 20-minute drive or, you know, whatever. I don't know. Again, we don't know. Cops know way more, it seems. I'd love to hear from Justin Rounds. I want to hear from the grandparents. And I know that Candice said, no, not going to happen, like with the grandparents being elderly, this and that. I get it. But at the same time, I'm just like, I think that we need to see, and this sounds just so terrible. It's like I'm like critiquing how you should act. But I just feel like we would like to see more or hear more from someone other than Candice. And I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying, I think people want to hear more from the dad and the grandparents. And if you guys agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. You know, and those watching it on replay, I read the comments. So tell me your thoughts. So let me play this media clip about his birthday. So give me a second to just share my screen.
Today was Dylan Round's 20th birthday. It was also marking 9 weeks since he went missing near Lucin, Utah. The FBI and Box Elder County Sheriff's Office have labeled this a criminal case. His family wants him found and to spread awareness of his story.
Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser shows us how people across the country are celebrating him in a special way tonight.
How's it going? Inside the Bear River Valley Country Store in Corinne.
Good, just the refill? Yes, sir.
It's a convenience store, hardware store, garden supply shop, you name it.
It's really set up by the farmers for the farmers back in the day.
So it only makes sense this agriculture town wants to help a fellow farmer.
It's one of those industries. It's a good industry to be in. Everybody kind of watches out for each other and helps out where we can.
Dylan Rounds went missing near Lucin, Utah over Memorial Day weekend. In honor of his 20th birthday, his family is asking the country to sow a seed for Dylan.
It's a tribute. It's not a memorial. It's a way we're celebrating his birthday with him. His birthday was always spent in a grain field, in a combine, in a grain cart.
His mom, Candice Cooley, spent her Monday planting sunflower seeds in Oregon.
I know he would love it. So that's why I did it.
She says Dylan grew up planting sunflowers in their yard and at his grandparents' homes.
You know, we don't want to release balloons because we're not looking to the sky for him. We're looking for him here on the ground.
Across the
I thought that was a nice thing to say. We're looking for him here on the ground, so we're not going to send up balloons. And I have always kind of, people keep saying she's not emotional. And like, I get it. But at the same time, I've seen parents like the Summer Wells parents who are just dead behind the eyes. Like, you know that something is not right and that they know more. I've seen her, Candice here, Cooley, show emotion, but like hold back. So I disagree with people who are saying she's not emotional. Like, I've been kind of seeing it. But here it was just, I'm sure it's just, I mean, he's her firstborn. So it's just obviously a devastating week for them to celebrate his birthday without him. But this was a great tribute.
Country, from Utah to Idaho, Florida to Kentucky, people touched by his case want to celebrate him. People in towns like Corinne that never even met him but want him found.
His family's really putting forth effort and they want answers. We feel for him. Our thoughts and prayers go out for him.
Back in July, the Box Elder County Sheriff's Department identified a James Brenner as a suspect. He worked on the farm with Dylan and lived nearby. No criminal charges have been filed against him specifically in this case. I reached out to the Box Elder County Sheriff's Department for an update in the investigation and have yet to hear back. In Brigham City, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
She reported another story early on in this case, and she ended it the same way. I've reached out to Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and have yet to hear back. It's like this poor girl just can't even get like anything with law enforcement. And I feel like law enforcement, even though it seems the family's happy with the FBI being in control now, I just feel like there's been very little transparency. Hi, Pink Dahlia. And hello, Amanda. Thank you for being here. This was shared the other day on The Sun. And I was like, what? Because of the title, like heartbreaking update. I'm like, what? It had nothing to do with like any update. It was just his birthday and he's not around. But I just never seen this interview with Candice before. Has anyone seen this? And of course, they only shared like 15 seconds. But what is this? And just listen, it's like not even the whole interview. Oh, it says KIFI Local News 8. Okay, interesting. I've never seen this.
It's like he locked his pickup and walked away, which is weird because Dylan never locks his pickup. But that's when we found the boots behind the dirt pile that we know are his. So that's when everything kind of started in our mind shifting.
Then it just, that's the end of it. Like, that's the end of the clip. That's all they shared. But anyways, the article, though, it talks about the seed tribute that they did. But then here it says, it quotes her from the other East Idaho channel. Hold on, let me find it. So wait, it says this. Dylan had been, quote, putting the grain truck in a shelter that day, according to an FBI affidavit. Where is this FBI affidavit that says that? I swear, I don't remember seeing that. If anyone has seen it, again, please let me know and send it to me. Here, down here, sorry, from where his grain truck was parked, his boots were about 100 yards south behind a pile of dirt just casually tossed out. He was particular about his boots. He wears a pair and it's always the same pair. When they wear out, he goes and buys exactly the same boots. And then it quotes her, where is it? The East Idaho thing where she says something about that she thought that he left like against his will or something. Okay, Dylan's mother told East Idaho News she believes her son was taken and did not leave his place willingly. So that was her thoughts early on in the investigation. And I find that interesting because that was from her first interview with East Idaho. And people have been throwing around the idea that he's still alive and that the family believes he's still alive. And Candice even actually said that she had hope still that he was still alive. And of course, you want to have hope. But at the same time, it's like, I wonder if they know something more. Lady Sarah, has it been confirmed blood on the boots? From what I'm hearing, they confirmed it to be blood. Yes. But then I'm also hearing we didn't hear whose blood pretty much. Like they didn't say that, but they did say yes, from what I understand. So I could be wrong, but I'm feeling like that's it. All right, and then the other thing I wanted to do is, let me just look through all this. So the other thing that I didn't get a clear indication on, and please let me know if you guys heard it in that Duty Ron interview, but because remember we heard that Kurt took his backhoe back, and then we heard that he didn't take it back, and then we heard he did. I don't know. So we never got a clear indication of like, where is Kurt's backhoe? Let me see what else. I found it interesting too when Duty Ron started talking about Kurt Wadsworth. He was like, I want you to talk as much as you can without obviously giving anything up important about Kurt Wadsworth. And I'm thinking, what would there be to give up that's important about Kurt if Kurt has never been listed as a suspect? You know what I mean? So I found that interesting because it's like, if they talk more, which it seems like Duty Ron and Candice talk more than what she tells, everyone else. I just made me wonder, like, why were they handling information with Kurt with such delicate hands if he has nothing to do with it, nefarious, you know what I mean? So the other thing is why, it could be something so simple as just miscommunication or word through the grapevine got all messed up, like the game of telephone, because so many people were adamant, including Kurt's daughter, that they did find the pistol and that the key fob was found and it was in a pair of pants and blah, blah, blah. And we heard a gun was found in the bathroom under a newspaper. Then we heard it was in the bathroom under laundry. So it's been all over the place. And, did Kurt's daughter, Sammy, purposely say that it was found when it wasn't? She said, Justin Rounds told me that they found the pistol. But, was that just confusing the two guns? You know what I mean? There's two guns, two key fobs. Is it something as simple as miscommunication? Or is it something like, she's purposely putting out misinformation out there? I just don't know. So the other thing is with the conversation with Dylan and his grandmother, why was she so, he was supposed to call her back pretty much. Why did he need to touch base with her again? You know what I mean? Like, I don't call my grandparents every day, all day. I just find it interesting that she said he never called me back. That phone call and what was said in it, I think, are vital. I don't know why, but I just feel like it is. Candice also said something along the lines of like the crime scene had been trampled over already. And I was just thinking, the grain shed, or is there something more to the trailers? Because they took both his trailers. And I'm thinking, people have been speculating, did Dylan walk up to, people robbing him or something? I just don't know what exactly she meant about things being contaminated and this and that. And the fact that she's also come out and said that the FBI has taken both his trailers, they're processing that. But then in the same breath, she has said things like, he never left that property, the grain shed property. So if something happened there, then why would they need to take the campers? You know what I mean? His trailers. That's interesting to me, and after seeing on Salty Pancake's channel, Chase's homestead, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. I don't know. It was just so, I feel like it'd be okay if I showed you guys a little bit of it. I asked him if I could play some of his stuff, and it's for the sake of, finding Dylan, that I think that it would be okay for me to just play a little bit. Let me find it for you guys. Hi, CDT. Thanks for being here. But it's just crazy. And people think that his Dylan's camper looks rummaged through. Other people have said, no, that's just how he was living. I'm still torn on that. I feel like he wasn't living there at all, and it looks like maybe somebody else was squatting there. But I can also see where people say it looks like it was being rummaged through. I don't know. I'm torn. I'm torn on that. But it's very interesting to see where Chase was living and him having all this stockpile of stolen goods. Like, I'll just show you guys. Has anyone seen it actually? Really interesting boots on the ground stuff. Everyone has brought really good angles to looking at this case on YouTube. So this is where he lived with his last girlfriend, who he had the child with, who is now 19 months, which is the same age as my little girl. And I'm going to speed it up because, you guys can go see this, but this is where Chase was.
Hey, I found Chase Ventura's card. I think that says Chase. Yeah, Chase.
Oh, that's Chase Bank, though.
No, Chase Ventura.
Oh, it says
Ventura.
Oh,
that's funny.
It's funny?
It was. That's Chase Bank.
They came here this trailer. They pulled it up.
That's something that I didn't understand this part either.
There's a lot of stolen stuff out here.
Hold on. Let me just say, I didn't understand this video, and I believe this was all done after. Oh, there's a four-wheeler. Remember, we heard two of them were stolen. One was somewhere, and then here's another one. But anyways, if Chase is being cleared in the mainstream media and whatever, I found it interesting that Kurt insisted on bringing Salty here still. Like, he's just, I know that they're enemies, Kurt and Chase, but he's adamant on pointing the finger at Chase. Like, Kurt is adamant on it. Also, I just remembered something else that Chase's father had said. He pretty much was saying that the Wadsworths have more to do with Dylan's disappearance. So I found that interesting.
Looks like fucking Tweakerville from hell. Good God. Oh, I need some mowers out here. I ain't fucking shit them all. It's all stolen? Or?
That was the last car that chased me right there. Tap out that one.
Let's go get it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ronnie from Missing said, and we're kind of backtracking a few minutes because I'm looking through comments. But when we were talking about the phone call Dylan made to the grandmother, you know, it could be absolutely nothing nefarious or suspicious or whatever. It could just be he calls her all the time, or, you know, was there someone standing there rushing him to get off the phone? Was somebody saying, call her and tell her everything's fine, you know what I mean? Because doesn't Don and Jim tell grandmother afterwards? Oh, don't worry. So, I don't know. Someone was squatting, you guys think possibly in Dylan's? I think it's possible for sure. I want to know what the date on the milk was. I'm sure FBI obviously knows. Karen, this is from Salty Pancakes, but I've sped it up, so it might look a little crazy and sped up, but definitely check out his stuff. This is where he was living, and this is Tweakerville, quote unquote. And it's just crazy. It's just absolutely wild to see that people were living like this. And I'm sure it looked better when Tracy was there, but she was there with like a newborn baby. Like, I just cannot imagine. But I'm just glad she's in a better spot now. Literally looks like Hills Have Eyes. I agree.
Here's some boots. See, this is what it's like, guys, in the fucking middle of nowhere, and you have all this shit. Probably another stolen four-wheeler.
The other thing, too, is we need to keep in mind also that even though on Saturday, the day supposedly that something happened to Dylan, he goes missing, even though he's on CCTV footage in a Little Caesars, I'm hearing that there's roads to kind of take that is like shorter distance, cutting through, and obviously we see there's four-wheelers. So I'm just wondering if, oh, really? Chase's dad spoke of a Mazda. Yeah, he said something about Chase has a lot of vehicles. Hi, BLN. Yeah, I'm just kind of still hung up on this whole Chase character. But at the same time, what if it has nothing to do with Dylan? What if he was just squatting there or stealing from him? What if he found out something happened to Dylan through the grapevine? So he decided to go there and take what he could of it. So he's tied to it that way. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of things that still need to be ironed out as far as everyone being cleared.
The Chase pulled this out to the property to go to next. So then, it used to be on Tice property.
Good God. How do people live like this out here? Ew, good God.
So one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if maybe somebody else picked it out, heard it and didn't, and I didn't, but Jim Terry asked Chase's dad what vehicle he had or whatever, they were discussing some vehicle, and Chase's dad like didn't give him a make or model. And I was literally like cooking at the same time I was listening to it, and I like had my ear like perked up, like, yeah, what kind of vehicle did Chase drive? And it wasn't this Mazda, but he never like clarified. And then we've heard that Chase was seen by an eyewitness a week before Dylan went missing or something, days before, driving a smaller white SUV, like possibly an older Bronco or GMC Jimmy. But we just never, I need more clarification on that, and I'm noticing while looking at this property, we don't see a smaller SUV. So was that some abandoned vehicle that was taken in and being processed, or is that just rumor? Somebody saw the wrong thing. You know what I mean? So I just find it interesting that if there was some smaller SUV that Chase was seen driving, we see here on his property, it's not there at all. So where is it? Was it his? Is this just more hearsay? Because that's the other thing is I kind of wanted to express too, is we like to throw around theories, and I like doing that. I like brainstorming and speculating and all that. But I think that we need to bring it down to reality at times and remember that hearsay isn't facts. So kind of going back to the whole, why did Kurt's daughter say that Justin told her that the gun was found if it wasn't? It's either hearsay, miscommunication, purposely being manipulative and throwing things off, because we also hear from Ty that Sammy, Kurt's daughter, is the most manipulative and smartest of all Kurt's children or something like that. So is it something deeper, or is it just hearsay that's being misconstrued, So, it was good that we got some answers in that interview from Candice, what's missing, what's not missing. But at the same time, we need to remember other things are hearsay. So did Chase have a smaller white SUV that he was seen driving? Well, it's not here on his property, but at the same time, if it was found abandoned, where is it? Was it his? Just a lot of questions. And again, are we supposed to just mark Chase off completely? I don't know. I can't let go, but at the same time, was it just Jim acting by himself? It very well could just be the simplest thing. High criminality, and we are going to do a panel live chat soon. So make sure you guys check back, because I'm going to have criminality and hopefully CDT and Mia Moore, Michelle on, and we're just going to chat the case. So... And also, I see some people in chat that have been here since Watt's case. I'm doing a 4-year anniversary this month for the Watts case, because it's been 4 years and it's just a case that I can't let go of. So let me see what other things I have in reference to talk tonight about Dylan Rounds. Let me see while I play this for you guys.
Oh, shit. Oh, it stinks. It smells bad in here. I'm gonna check this van real quick.
Okay, so you guys can check out his channel and see that, but that was just really interesting to see some of his homestead there, if that's what you want to call it, Tweakerville or whatever. So just some good boots on the ground stuff there. So let me see. What was Jim Brenner's appearance like when he showed up at Don's barbecue? Was he out of breath? Was he exhausted? Was he sweaty? Did he just appear to have, showered? Was there blood splatter on his boot? I'm really curious to know the little details that Don H. has been able to give about Jim's appearance that day. And again, we don't have anybody who's been charged with anything, not even suspicion of, being linked to something. I mean, obviously he's been listed as a suspect, but I mean, no suspicious to a homicide type of charge. Nothing like that. Nobody's been even linked to the disappearance. It's just all gun charges. So I think that that's noteworthy and troubling at the same time. Hopefully, like Candice has been saying, once things have been processed and gone through the forensics unit, that obviously will give more questions or more answers to questions. So I'm just wondering, was there some heated, conversation? He's in a hurry. Dylan's in a hurry to get in because the rain and the seeds obviously would be detrimental. And Jim's just lazy and like, screw this kid. He owes me from the potato truck that I did for him. I'm not in any hurry. And then there was a huge blowout. I mean, it could be something like that. It really could. But let me see. I think I've gone over a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. We seen that on June 18th, FBI took his 2 campers. We questioned then where was the crime scene? What would be the point in the campers being there or being taken and processed if it happened on the grain shed property? I don't know. It's just all very interesting. We also heard Candice talk about dirt that was taken from the crime scene, that she called it that. So that was interesting. Is there blood? Was there something that the FBI picked up on that Box Elder didn't? Or maybe Box Elder was like, check this out. We've seen this or whatever, It's just a lot of things that we're waiting on. The other thing that I realized Candice still doesn't know the answer to, and I'd like to know, and maybe you guys know, we've heard more than one person owns a Saddle Sore bar and grill or whatever. We've heard Kurt say his mother owns it and leases it. We've heard other people say that other woman, Ellen lady, owns it. Ellenberg owns it and leases it. So who actually is the owner? I'm very confused on that small detail, and it seemed like Candice didn't even have the answer to that. So I'm curious. And who are the 3 credible people who saw Chase get into Dylan's truck that day? Because she also said that. She said there were 3 credible eyewitnesses that seen Chase get in Dylan's truck. So who are these people? I find it interesting. The boots appear to have been, not exposed to the elements, but we're also hearing Candice say that the grain truck, there was mud that made it seem like the grain truck got stuck in the mud at one point. So there were ruts or whatever created, which indicates that, it was a heavy rain at that point. So the boots are clean of mud, but there's indication that there was some heavy rain going on. So I find that interesting. What are you guys thinking? Is it just something simple like Jim? He freaked out and this is just a result of one guy who drinks too much and is trigger happy? Or is it a premeditated, Jim is the guy who's going to bamboozle him and other people are going to lead him there and kind of set him up as a trap? Kurt's pulling the strings, allegedly. I mean, is it something like that? You know what I mean? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to make sure that I spoke about. We're obviously going to be waiting on more forensics and ballistics, hopefully. I mean, we don't even know if there is a gun involved in whatever happened, Apparently, people are saying that Dylan was not into drugs or hung out with the tweakers. So we have kind of played around with the idea, like did he get into the bad crowd? We're not hearing that through whatever sources we've had, but it's been thought about. Yeah, I trust no one either, Delana. I'd like to start narrowing things down, but I can't help but hold on to Chase and Kurt and still have my questions about them, even though they've only listed Jim Brenner as the main suspect. Where did Dylan pick Chase up? That's what I want to know. If he was seen by 3 people, then where did this take place? I figure most likely scenario is interpersonal conflict getting out of hand over minor trigger event. Dylan ends up not alive and hidden. I feel like I want to say that that's what it is, but I cannot figure out why I'm feeling like Kurt and Chase are like tied to this somehow. In my opinion, the FBI knows much more than we do. I feel they are putting their ducks in a row. I hope so. I'm confused why there's no charges or anything like that, but maybe it's just waiting on the lab and all that. Yeah, I agree that video of Chase's homestead, that's what meth does to people. It's terrible. Those seeds had to be quickly moved so maybe an altercation. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He calls his grandmother and he says, I got to get over there. And, Jim's on the property. Hopefully he doesn't give me a hard time. Maybe they've had issues or something. You know what I mean? Like I said, Jim was supposed to be given a certain amount of money for these potato deliveries. And if what Kurt is saying is true, then maybe Jim had resentment for not getting the full amount, So Dylan shows up all mad, like, hurry up, let me through here. Like, you're going to ruin my seed. And Jim is thinking, like, I don't care about your seed. You owe me money. Like maybe it was something like that. Like Jim felt like vindicated. Like now I got this kid by the balls because I got his seed. You know what I mean? But then if Dylan had a key to the gate, then some other altercation took place. I just don't understand why I'm just feeling like Chase and Kurt are maybe no more, or maybe, like I said, they came around to rob him or after the fact. I don't know. I assume Chase was picked up out in the boonies, the way it sounded anyway. So if he was, then how were there 3 credible people that witnessed the pickup of Chase, if that makes sense? I totally have the same thoughts. Because I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking when the story's being told, this man ran out and he was bloody and he had 1 shoe on and blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking like middle of the desert, like driving down the road, like we've seen like in these pictures and stuff, like just came running out. People have made it seem like he was wandering and this and that. So I'm like, how are there 3 people? And then I'm also thinking, Candice said in the Duty Ron interview, the FBI and Box Elder haven't even talked to us about Chase. Like pretty much saying like Chase has not even been mentioned to us. They've told us nothing about him. So, but then how does she know that there's 3 credible witnesses? That would mean that like they've done research or they've done their investigation on Chase and his statement on that, and then relayed it to Justin and Candice and said, well, we have 3 credible witnesses who saw this take place. So this is the character who your son picked up. But then the same breath, Candice is saying they've never talked to us about Chase. So I don't know. Maybe it's all for a reason. Maybe things are being protected, or maybe things are being gone back over and backtracked. I just find it interesting. Yeah, exactly. The seeds would have gotten moldy with too much water. So was Jim, and recognize, like, did he know that obviously and think I'm just going to get back at this kid and not let him get the, but then this, I don't know. It's just very interesting. Everything, like the misreporting on this case too, confusing everything. The mother saying, hopefully one of these two guys talks. Who was she talking about? Jim Brenner? And then who? Because she's saying that Chase was never a suspect and that they've never been talked to about Chase. So it can't be Chase. So then Robert Aviles. I don't know. And then I cannot let go of Justin Rounds parking outside of the Wadsworth companies that they work for, like the bar or whatever. Like we heard that he was parked outside of it for days or whatever. People speculated that it was to get Wi-Fi. Well, he was staying in a hotel room. I don't think that the hotel, I mean, maybe they don't have Wi-Fi, but a lot of things that I'm just still kind of raising my eyebrow about. Yeah, exactly. So many questions. I don't know, guys. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to go over with you guys. I pretty much think that that's kind of everything that we got to update on. Just looking through chat. I just think it's noteworthy. Dylan calling his mother Wednesday about the Chase event and then calling his grandmother the morning that he goes missing. I just think everything leading up to his disappearance is important and noteworthy. You know, the check that he got. Yes, it was made out to him and he had deposited it or whatever. You know, it was made out to only an account that Dylan was supposed to use, you know, to do his farm. But people might not have known that. Like, I'm just wondering if just the way that hearsay and through the grapevine stuff has been going around with other things in this case, is it something like that? Like people heard about his money and I don't know. Maybe it was just resentment from the potato truck money that Jim felt like he was owed. Not really sure, but Jim felt comfortable enough to give his weapons, the muzzle loaders, all that to Don, which, you know, Jim must have felt like he could have trusted Don. And then what do you know? Don doesn't even explain any of it, but unless he's had to, you know, which I mean is, sorry, I'm like exhausted, guys. I like went on 2 walks today. That's why I got the hat on. I'm not, it's so hot here. I don't know about you guys, but it was literally almost I think it was like 90 today. So I'm saying Don never gave up this information about the guns that Jim gave him until he was kind of like questioned about it by the cops. And then he gave up half the information and had to call them back the next day and say, oh yeah, and then there's this rifle that he gave me too. So Don is sketchy enough, in my opinion, to hide somebody else's guns and then give the cops half information and then have to call back the next day and give the whole truth. Like, to me, it doesn't paint Don to look very good. And so glad you're here, Paul. Sorry to go off topic, Amber, but loved the Johnny Depp stuff you've done. Thank you. Sorry, I'm not understanding this comment, Karen. Wi-Fi can be verified. No need to speculate. Huh? Sorry, I'm tired, so I might not be understanding it. And thank you, Roxanne. Appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry you can't sleep. I put my AC at like 66, and it still doesn't feel like 66 upstairs because the hot air is rising. So when I go downstairs in the morning, I'm freezing. I don't know. It's rough, but it's better than snow because I live where there's a ton of snow. So I take the heat any day. But I don't know, guys. I think I've kind of gone over everything. I really appreciate you guys being here and kind of brainstorming with me. So it seems like everyone's on the same page that even though the media and whatever has said that Chase is cleared and that Chase was never listed as a suspect, it seems like everyone's still kind of hanging on to him and not discounting his possible involvement. Is that stupid though? Like, I just want to start narrowing things. But then I also feel it's important and noteworthy that Chet has also agreed that it very well could just be some interpersonal conflict with Jim Brenner and Dylan, and it resulted in, his disappearance and, I hate to say it, but murder. It seems like our chat is open-minded, which I love. And it seems like we're open-minded to both things kind of being involved. So we're kind of where we started when I started this live stream an hour ago. So that's all right. I appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate you guys brainstorming with me. And thank you so much for my mods and everyone who has been here supporting the channel. And I will talk to you guys very soon. And like I said, we'll be covering this case continuously, until we get more answers and justice for Dylan Rounds. And we are also going to be talking about the Watts case with the 4-year anniversary coming up, unfortunately, this month too. So we're going to pay tribute to those victims, and we're also just going to, talk about the case a little bit. So we will be in touch, and yeah, you guys enjoy your summer, and we'll be talking very soon. And thank you everybody for being here and for all the support. So goodbye.